Something I didn't have the time to talk about in my last video was the production end of things leading into lockdown. I think in just the last month alone, TNA really has taken a step up in terms of promoting their pay-per-views production-wise. In terms of video packages, I think these are some of the best ones TNA has ever done. The Sting Foley video that they put on the YouTube page, that thing is as good as any video package I've ever seen in the WWE. And WWE makes some really awesome video packages. Plus, they even got Billy Corgan doing an a cappella version of Bullet with Butterfly Wings for the opening video of the show. That's fantastic. When you do things like that, it really makes your company look like a big deal. Hopefully they can keep that up. I want to see what videos they come up with for Sacrifice. But anyway, lockdown. First of all, I've read a lot of comments from people saying that this show sucked so bad it completely killed the crowd and blah blah blah. Alright, that is not what happened at all. That crowd sucked. That had to be the quietest Philly crowd I've ever seen in all my years as a wrestling fan. It was dead at 8 o'clock. It was almost as dead at 11 p.m. And the reason for this, to me, is pretty obvious. That was not a TNA crowd. It was an ECW crowd. And it's pretty clear if you just look at what they reacted to. They popped for the big holy shit spots. They popped for 3D. They popped for Stevie Richards. And the only match they were really into 100% of the time was 3D Beer Money because it's Philadelphia and because it's the Dudley Boys. Most of the time it was like the fans were just waiting around for the ECW originals to show up. The rest of the time the crowd was pretty quiet, which is a shame because I think the quiet crowd really hurt this pay-per-view. Not to say it was a bad pay-per-view. I think what was going on in the ring was good overall. There were a couple of duds there, but it was mostly just the stuff we expected to be bad anyway. As for good matches, okay, first of all, I need to say one thing, okay? The Motor City Machine Guns need a raise. Okay, Sabin and or Shelley have stolen the show at every single TNA pay-per-view this year so far, and Lockdown was no exception. Going in, I expected the triple threat for the IWGP tag titles to kick ass, and it did. Great match. I couldn't believe the lack of crowd reaction for this thing. I love the spot at the end with the Guns doing that sliced bread powerbomb combo finisher. That was cool as hell. And thank you, Don West. Thank you for saying that TNA needs to get the Motor City Machine Guns into the TNA tag title picture ASAP. And after this match, they've got to be considered the #1 contenders. I don't know why they wouldn't be. I want to see them come out on Impact and challenge 3D and then have those guys take all 3 championships, TNA, New Japan, and IWGP tag titles, and put them all on the line at Sacrifice. That would be awesome. And the stakes would actually be higher than they were for the 3D Beer Money match. Speaking of which, that match was great too. There's a lot of great effort here. A bunch of table spots. The top rope Bubba Bomb was awesome. They brawled all over the arena before they even got in the cage. And this was the only match that really got the crowd on their feet and making some noise throughout. This was one of the matches I was looking forward to the most, and it did not disappoint. 3D won, but the heels made them work for it, so Beer Money still looks strong. And hopefully the Machine Guns will get the next title shot, and then maybe they can have some kind of triple threat 3-fall match for the titles at Slammiversary. For all 3 titles. And I loved that Don West pointed out how when you look at other companies, meaning WWE, no one can deny that TNA's tag team division is head and shoulders above the competition. If you look at Lockdown, they had a title versus title match for World Tag Team Domination, and the IWGP tag titles defended as well, and both matches were awesome. Compare that to what the WWE did at WrestleMania 25, advertising a title versus title unification match and then leaving it off the damn pay-per-view so they could have some boring-ass rock concert instead. Thank you, TNA. Screw you, Vince McMahon. The X Division Escape match was crazy. Great action here. I won't say it was the best escape match in Lockdown history, and it would have been better if Bashir had been eliminated first and the end came down to Suicide and Kiyoshi instead. That would have made for a better match in my opinion. But it was a great, exciting match. And Suicide's dive off the top of the cage at the end was awesome. Very good opener. I wish it could have gone longer, but they had to get Daniels out of there before too long since he was pulling double duty that night. The Knockouts title match was solid. I could not believe Awesome Kong did that somersault splash off the top turnbuckle. Holy shit. That actually got one of the biggest pops of the night, too. And bear in mind, Kong, Taylor Wilde, and Matt Morgan were in a car accident the day before. The way I heard it, they got rear-ended by someone going at about 50 miles an hour, but they seemed perfectly fine, so they looked out there. I liked the match. It was good. The finish kind of brought it down a little bit, though. Taylor hit a high crossbody onto Angelina, and then Angelina hit her head pretty hard when she took the bump. I mean, she was definitely groggy after that. And I think she may have actually been knocked unconscious for a few seconds. So they had to improvise the finish, which is why it seemed to come out of nowhere, which kind of hurt the match a little bit. But it was still a good match. I think it was time for Awesome Kong to lose the belt. Hopefully she will take some time off now, get the knee surgery, and then come back when she's 100%, possibly as a babyface, which I think would really freshen up her character. Angelina is definitely the right choice to succeed her as top heel for a while. Her title run's long overdue. She didn't get built up that well before she won it, so she doesn't look very credible right now. Hopefully they will work on that. And Lethal Lockdown was awesome. I think AJ diving through the roof of the cage was insane. That was another big holy shit moment. And I got to give big props to Christopher Daniels for being one of the first two guys in the cage when he already wrestled earlier. Match was nuts. Very happy the Frontline guys won. I wasn't really crazy about the Jeff Jarrett thing. The big angle leading into the match was a question of what side is Jeff Jarrett going to fall on, and then nothing really happened with that. I think as soon as he accidentally hit AJ that first time, you kind of knew what was going to happen. But the match itself was still really enjoyable. The Bobby Lashley thing, hey, that's cool. You know, I didn't expect that. I mean, I thought Lashley was really focused on MMA these days, so I don't know what's going to happen there. I mean, I always thought Bobby Lashley had a lot of potential as a worker, but he was just thrown on TV before he was ready. You know, I heard he hasn't really signed anything official yet, and he's just, you know, he's not giving up MMA, so that might just be a short-term thing. But it was a cool surprise for the pay-per-view, definitely. And Sting and Mick Foley, I've heard some people really bash this match, saying it was boring and slow-paced or whatever. I'm not going to say it was a 4-star classic. I will say that it delivered more than I thought it would. I mean, if you look at how these two guys have performed in the ring for the last 6 months and compare it to this, it might not have been a great technical match, but was it better than you thought it was going to be? Probably. I mean, they did way more than I thought they would. I mean, they did spots off a top turnbuckle. They both took shots with the barbed wire bat. Mick Foley was in way better shape than he was at Genesis. I mean, the effort was there. I mean, neither guy can deliver what they could 10 or 20 years ago, but the effort was there. Not sure about Foley winning the title, though. I mean, I absolutely think Sting needed to lose the title. That was overdue. But I really felt he should have lost it to AJ or Samoa Joe. But it looks like they're going to go in a new direction now with Mick Foley losing his mind and stuff. And I don't expect Mick to keep the title for very long. He'll probably lose it by Slammiversary. Hopefully Joe or AJ will win it then. But at any rate, I was satisfied with the match. I think most of us knew what we were going to get with Sting and Foley, and they delivered more than I thought they would, whereas Triple H and Randy Orton at WrestleMania 25 delivered much, much less than I thought they would. So put all that stuff together, it adds up to a strong pay-per-view. I thought it was better than last year's Lockdown. There were a couple of duds too, but you know, nothing unexpected. Queen of the Cage was nothing. I wasn't expecting much out of this. I said that before. This was just the wrong combination of women to put in the cage. I mean, they worked hard, but there was no chemistry there. I mean, this match desperately needed somebody like Taylor Wilde or Awesome Kong to be the workhorse and kind of set the pace and carry the action. And time was, they had Gail Kim for stuff like that, but she's not there anymore. I mean, here you had Daphne and Madison Rayne, both of who are pretty decent. I mean, you had ODB, who isn't horrible, but she needs an opponent who can bring out the best in her to really shine. And then you had some Jobber Bolt, who sucks. And the match had no ring general, basically, and that's why it turned out the way that it did, unfortunately. Did not agree with ODB winning. Daphne or even Madison Rayne should have won this match. I mean, it would have built one of the new talents, and they would have gotten a nice rub from winning a match at Lockdown, but ODB's not going to get anything out of this. Are you kidding me? I mean, she's pretty much become a sideshow attraction in TNA. I mean, she's barely been on TV lately, doesn't wrestle that much anymore. I mean, at least the right person got pinned, though. I'll say that much. I mean, Bolt is awful. I know it. You know it. The casual fans know it. And hopefully this is a sign that the writers are starting to realize it, too. Matt Morgan and Abyss, the thumbtack bump was brutal, and Abyss stabbing Morgan in the head with the glass was sick, but the match was pretty boring. And this has got to be the end of this feud. It feels like this thing has just been going on for a year now. I mean, they've had 3 pay-per-view matches, and none of them have been that good. So just end this feud already, and let's do something different with these guys. So those 2 matches were duds, but Beer Money 3D was great. Motor City LAX No Limit was great. The Escape match was really good. Lethal Lockdown was a lot of fun. The women's title match was solid. Sting and Foley was better than you probably thought it was going to be. Screw the critics. This was a good pay-per-view. Better than last year's Lockdown, definitely. And I'm running out of time here, so see you guys next week.